With her heavy breath, Anna Duggar stood still by the kitchen window in the low light of her Arkansas house, the only sound being the faint clinking of the clock. Pretending that the walls surrounding her weren't progressively breaking under the weight of secrets, scandals, and silent suffering, she had stood in that very location for years, making breakfast for her children, waiting for Josh to return home. Things changed, though, that morning. Anna had settled on a course of action that morning. A choice that, for months, had been nagging at her conscience. Freedom, but also anarchy, was the promise of this decision. Possibly even heartache. A permanent separation from the Duggar family was her decision. A quiet wait. Anna has been the embodiment of forgiveness for a long time. Anna remained after Josh Duggar's notorious 2015 fall from grace, when molestation accusations and Ashley Madison leaks made his name explode across headlines. Whispers were heard. "Hey!" the press yelled. Unmoved, nevertheless. They referred to her as tough. They referred to her as loyal. The isolation that followed, however, was a mystery to them. Whispered verdicts in the pews of the chapel. The screams of the nighttime hushed by a cushion. The heartbreaking stillness that enveloped her as her children inquired about their father's whereabouts while he was in prison. Anna persisted, nevertheless. For the sake of her own happiness as well as that of her 7 children, who were all wonderfully quirky and full of innocent and confused energy. Reassuring herself that she was doing ethically, she continued. She had the burden of forgiveness to carry. That staying was what the Lord desired. Anna felt a deep breach open inside her as Josh was handed a 12-and-a-half-year prison term in 2022 for receiving and having materials showing child sexual abuse. It wasn't that she'd lost him again. It was that she could see him plainly now. An unsent letter. She had concealed it in her Bible for months. Just one sheet of paper, quarter folded. Anna never mustered the bravery to speak out, but she scribbled them down in her tear-stained handwriting nevertheless. Josh, I forgive you. But that doesn't imply I should keep bleeding to demonstrate it. She never mailed it. Not even that she was the author was ever divulged. Conversely, she had never before admitted to herself the truth. Possibly. Somewhat. Love does not necessitate an endless supply of sacrifice. A decision's first steps. Cohesion was a hallmark of the Duggar family. Herein lies their silence code. Straight ahead they will not budge. However, anyone brave enough to peek behind any shut doors could see the cracks. Jill had already begun to separate herself from the family. Everything Jinger had been trained to believe started to crumble once she moved to California. Furthermore, Anna, who had hitherto been the submissive daughter-in-law, was also contemplating abandoning them. The last straw was not immediately apparent to all. Neither a news story nor a court file was the subject of the latest development. Mackenzie, her eldest daughter, and she were having a conversation. On one of those evenings, Mackenzie asked her mom, "Why do we have to keep forgiving people who don't change?" No response could be given by Anna. Nonetheless, the inquiry unsettled her, beginning the family conflicts. Upon informing Michelle and Jim Bob of her intentions, Anna's actions began to have an impact almost immediately. "You are abandoning your marriage vows," Jim Bob said firmly as he paced the floor like a general in battle. Without losing her composure, Anna responded, "I'm protecting my children," with the most forceful tone she had ever used in that household. Tears welling up in Michelle's eyes, she whispered, "But where will you go, dear? On your own? How do you intend to bring up a family?" It hit Anna like a ton of bricks. They had never seen her strength like that before. She muttered something like, "I've always been raising them by myself." All noise in the room vanished into thin air. She was surprised that she didn't feel a surge of anger today. We were able to gain clarity. Afterwards, she departed from the residence, transformed from a Duggar-in-law into a woman reclaiming her identity, speaking up for herself, and seeing a brighter future for herself. The shockwaves and the support. However, not everyone was against her. Within a few hours, Jill sent her a message. "I am glad for you. Call me if there is anything you require." It's true. The note was handmade by Jinger, and she also received a gift card to Amazon. I am aware that this was not an easy task. But you are deserving of serenity. Even cousin Amy, who has been the family rebel for a long time, uploaded a simple Instagram story with the following message. Sometimes, strength looks like walking away from the fire, not staying and burning the fire. On the other hand, not everyone was on board. Some of Josh's brothers, particularly the older boys, experienced feelings of betrayal. Anna's choice was not merely a matter of personal preference in their culture. It was open to the public. The Duggar family's name, their heritage, and their brand are all being rejected. There were icy texts sent to Anna. Silences that are awkward. Dinners with the family are not being invited. That was the first time in 15 years that she was actually on the outside looking in. Despite this, she did not experience feelings of isolation. Beginning of a new life. Outside of Springdale, not too far from the town where she spent her childhood, Anna rented a simple house. A tiny Christian school that did not ask intrusive questions or presume that headlines equaled truth was the one that she enrolled her children in with the money that she had saved up with the assistance of some well-wishers who remained silent. She began working part-time at a community center in the area, where she assisted other women in navigating challenging relationships, financial challenges, and the trauma of their parenting experiences. Her tale inspired others to take action. Also, gradually, that gave her the strength she needed. She started going to therapy, and not just biblical counseling. She tried genuine therapy. She shed a tear. She was able to recover. Realistically, she smiled for the first time in what seemed like years. Her children took notice. She did the same thing. What the public thinks the news circulated quite quickly. Anna Duggar steps away from the Duggar family. Anna finally breaks her silence about Josh. At long last, her very own voice. A number of publications referred to it as courageous. The term betrayal was used by some, but the majority of the population came together to support her. There was a deluge of comments on social media, including things like, "She ought to have left years ago. But I am pleased that she achieved it at last." It is not true that forgiving someone means remaining in hell. By sacrificing herself, Anna Duggar is working toward the liberation of her children. She was praised by a number of former reality stars for doing something that a great number of people in their field would never have the courage to do. Nevertheless, Anna was no longer concerned with the news headlines. She had no desire for either fame or pity. All she desired was a life in which she could exist without having to hide. A letter that was delivered. Anna did not take out that old letter until several months after she had made her decision. She rewrote it, but this time she spoke it to herself rather than to Josh. "Good day, Anna. It is not a sign of weakness on your part to remain, and it is not cruel of you to go. You were a wonderful wife, an obedient female, a mother who is powerful. Nevertheless, you are now free. Moreover, that is a holy thing." She hung it on the wall over her desk after framing it. The path that lies ahead. She is still having a difficult time in life. Bringing up 7 children by one's lonesome is not a simple or happy conclusion. In addition to the ever-present reverberation of the past, there are also messed up mornings, temper tantrums, and expenses. But at this moment, there is laughter. The park is a place where one can go for walks. Nights spent watching films with popcorn and socks that don't match. Playdates are scheduled. Harmony. Moreover, it is possible that one day there will be love once more, love that is not hurried, not broken, and not concealed by shame, love that is genuine, open, and warm. There is a possibility that Anna Duggar's decision has surprised the entire world. She may have caused a schism in one of the most recognized families on reality television.